welcome to this Price of Job tutorial. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the external timber walls module. To open a timber walls module, first navigate to the module toolbar and select the walls category, and then expand the external walls submenu and select timber wall, and click create. Alternatively, if you already have a walls module created, you can simply duplicate the existing module, rename your duplicate, and then here in the main stage, change the wall type from a cavity wall to a timber wall. And this will maintain all of your settings from the previous module. If you need to make any changes, you can access the area calculator to change any of the measurements as necessary. Here in this previous module, we calculate our area by adding 2 short sides and 2 long sides of the building, and then subtracting the door and window openings. For this example, we'll just keep the same measurements as our previous module. Then we can choose the wall style, whether we'll be having a brick outer skin with a timber inner skin, a block outer skin with a timber inner skin, or if we only require the stud work, we can choose timber only, and then we can estimate the cladding separately. So for this example, let's start with a brick exterior, and then we can take a look at the outer skin brick. We can choose to use either facing bricks or engineering bricks, with the engineering bricks being much stronger. In this case, a facing brick should be sufficient. And then we can choose our cement to sand ratio, either 1:1, 1:2, 1:3, 1:4, or 1:6. We'll just choose a standard mix. And then we can select our materials, whether the bricks will be either supplied by the client, and we can see here within the estimate, in this case, that the bricks have a 0 cost, because there's an exclusion here in the description showing that the facing bricks will be supplied by the client. However, the labor for installing these bricks will be assigned to a bricklayer and has been fully calculated. Alternatively, we can set this to be an allowance per brick. As a default, Price of Job estimates 70p per brick. And if we wish, we can override this. And this highlights the allowance in yellow here in our estimate to show that this is an overridden value. We can reset this by clicking the cog and clicking reset. Or we can select from the drop-down menu and choose a material from the Price of Job library. If the material that we're looking for doesn't show here, we can select Edit Pack and either search the Price of Job library for the material under a different name or add it as a new material. Simply input the title, unit, price, category, and website link to confirm the pricing. Next, we'll take a look at the forming cavity. In this case, we'll require timber frame ties, and this is automatically selected for us. Next is the membrane stage, to protect the timber stud work from any moisture. So again, here we can select our membrane from the Price of Job library, or Edit Pack to add a different material if necessary. In this case, we'll just select a standard material, and that is added to our estimate under the membrane stage, as well as the labor for installing it. Next, we'll take a look at the external lining. Here we have options of using either OSB or plywood. Now, depending on your structural specifications, you may not require the lining or the membrane, and if that's the case, you can simply deselect the stage to remove it from the estimate entirely. Without any external lining, you might just create bracings instead. But for this example, we'll leave these selected and included in our estimate. Then we'll take a look at the stud wall. Here we have spacings for our noggins. We can set this for either 400mm, 450, or 600mm. And notice that as we change these spacings, here within our estimate, we can see the stud wall here. When we change the spacing of our noggins, the total amount of timber and screws is automatically calculated depending on the spacing. So as we decrease the spacing, more timber will be required. Here, if we increase the spacing, the amount of timber required in linear meters reduces significantly. So we'll just keep this set at a moderate spacing. And then we can select our noggins. If there's no noggins, we can select this. 1 noggin, 2 noggins, or 3. And again, as we select more noggins, this is added to our linear meters of timber, as these will be sawn off individually. So here we have no noggins, and here we have 3 noggins per stud. And then here under section, we can select the timber size, either 47 by 75, 47 by 95, 47 by 125, or 47 by 145. And this is automatically updated here within the estimate to reflect the price per meter and the total price of the timber. In this case, we'll select a more moderately sized timber, 47 by 95. Then we'll take a look at the insulation for the first layer. And here we have options to either use Celotex rigid boards or mineral wool slabs. In either case, we can select the drop-down menu to choose the material we prefer to use. If we're using rigid boards, there's a variety of Celotex boards here listed. If the material you prefer to use is not shown in this menu, you can select Edit Pack and search from the Price of Job library. For example, we might try Kingspan, and we can select that material here. However, in this case, we'll just stick with mineral wool, and we'll select a material for that. And this is the insulation that we'll be applying between the studs. If we deselect it, we can see the highlight here in the sketch pane to show exactly what the material is that we're toggling. Next, we'll take a look at the internal lining. And again, if we deselect this, we'll see that item highlighted here on the sketch pane so that we can see exactly what the stage is referring to. Here we can select to use either OSB or plywood, and then choose our material from the drop-down menu. If we don't require a lining and we'll just be using bracings, we can deselect this and have it removed from our estimate. In this case, we'll leave it selected, and we'll use plywood. Next, we have a second insulation layer. And again, let's expand our sketch pane to have a closer look. The second insulation layer may not be required, and if so, you can simply deselect this. However, building regulations often require this for loft conversions, and you can consult these here within Price of Job by clicking in the top navigation menu, Building Regulations. Then going to the Module toolbar and selecting the Walls category, and select Timber Walls. And this loads the building regulations for timber walls, where you can see all the various regulations, including U values of insulation. To go back to the estimate, just click Estimate here within the navigation pane. Expand your menu here and select the timber wall module. So here for this insulation layer, we can choose to either use PIR insulation boards, dry therm, or multifoil. Under the drop-down menu, we can select the material. In this case, we'll stick with PIR insulation, and we'll just use a standard Celotex, maybe a 50mm. And this is added to our estimate here for the second insulation layer. In addition, as we make our various changes, Price of Job has been updating our description with a nicely written automatic description. And for each stage, the labor has been calculated to install these materials. If you require any additional general laborers, you can select this stage here for general labor. Here we can choose the number of laborers we require, and whether that's for days, weeks, or months, the number of days we require them for, and the number of hours per day. And a new stage is created to add general laborers to our estimate. And then we have an accessories stage here, where we can select the accessories menu, and we can add accessories from a variety of categories, including wall starter kits, expansion joints foam, timber frame wall ties, damp-proof course, air bricks, additives and admixtures, sealants, and cavity closers. Any accessories we wish to add to our estimate, we can just simply click on, and this is added to our estimate, and we can increase the quantity of accessories required. If, rather than having a brick exterior, we'll have a block exterior, we can simply go back to the main stage here, and rather than brick timber, we can choose block timber. And everything is still basically the same, with the exception of this first category. Here we'll choose whether we'll be using either concrete blocks or aerated blocks. Then we can choose our cement to sand mixture, and choose the material that we'll be using for our block. And if we're estimating only for the timber stud work, we can choose here from the style categories timber only. And this removes the area and the stage for the outer skin. Here we are estimating only for the interior timber stud work. This is a single skin ready to receive cladding or render or other exterior finishes. And that's how to use the Exterior Timber Walls module. Thank you for using Price of Job.